Hey there and welcome. My name is Pete and this channel update video means a whole lot to me because I want to use it to celebrate the channel's 10-year anniversary, this time for real. I can only repeat what I said in yesterday's April Fool's video. I started all of this as a passion project in 2016 and YouTube has now become my full-time job. That is both insane and an absolute privilege that I never expected when I uploaded my first videos. Speaking of which, for the next few minutes, allow me to take you on a small journey through 10 years of Pete Complete, and we'll talk about the future of the channel at the end too. Like I said, it all started back in March of 2016, so this video is actually a little bit overdue, and well, technically, I already created this channel in late 2014, but it took me over 1 year of experimenting to find out which games I would like to play and how I would like to play them for you people watching. Eventually, I settled on a completionist playthrough of Mirror's Edge for my very first series, and because I felt like an almost empty channel would not entice too many people, I decided to produce that series in its entirety before officially launching the channel, so that people would have something more to watch if they liked one of my videos. And to this day, Mirror's Edge still holds a very special place in my heart as that game that started it all, which is why we will actually revisit it in the upcoming days, because it is one of those few games that we actually have not fully completed yet. Why that is and what's still missing, for that you'll need to watch the eventual video, or videos, I might make too, but if you want to, you can already go ahead and give the old series a watch. Be warned though, it has aged somewhat, or at least my commentary has. Now, with a full series, albeit a relatively small one already on the channel, I began regular uploads of videos for the two games I picked out as my first two series, The Sims 3 and Mass Effect. And I think in those early days, it was The Sims 3 series that helped get the channel off the ground. I distinctly remember submitting one of the very first episodes to the Let's Play subreddit and winning their weekly Unsucky Sunday contest, which gave me a huge confidence boost and made me feel like I was on the right track. On a similar note, the Sims subreddit was also very kind to me and my work. I posted the early episodes during their once-a-week Let's Play Wednesday, and over time that helped me gain a small audience, and the channel reached 100 subscribers about half a year after its launch, a huge milestone for me back then. Now, I also mentioned Mass Effect, and the decision for that game had long-lasting consequences, as it led to the 7-year-long project of completing all 3 games. The Mass Effect trilogy has accompanied me on this channel for almost as long as RimWorld has, and it sprouted a grand total of 181 videos and over 110 hours of content. But back in March of 2016, I didn't know any of that. I just wanted to play a game that I enjoyed to full completion. So those two series kicked things off, but I was looking for something more. Hoping to be able to jump onto the hype train of Telltale-like games that were very popular at the time, I started playing The Descendant, a game that I still get teased about regularly on my Discord, because to this day, it is the only series on the channel that I never finished. My hopes for that series were quickly disappointed. Not only did the game never take off, neither for me nor for anyone else, it also wasn't particularly fun to play, a fact that I think I made known regularly throughout my commentary of the first few episodes. Now, I have jokingly promised a few of my community members to come back to it and finish The Descendant should the channel ever reach 1 million subscribers, so I guess it's up to you now whether or not that happens. Truth be told, the game is still in my ongoing projects folder. I have not yet moved it to the finished projects section, so I plan to stick to my word, regardless of how long that may take. Now, with The Descendant not giving the channel the boost I was hoping for, in 2017 I turned to a video game franchise that I was extremely familiar with and had enjoyed for many years at that point, NBA 2K. As some of you may know, I play basketball in my free time, have done so for well over 20 years now. I have also been a basketball coach for over 15 years, and well, when you want to combine that hobby with a passion for video games, for the longest time NBA 2K was the only way to go. Interestingly enough, my videos on NBA 2K17 and later 2K18 were maybe a tad bit too successful, at least for my situation at the time. While I hugely enjoyed especially my 2K18 series of a realistic approach to an expansion team, the Louisville Legionnaires, and wouldn't be entirely opposed to doing something similar in the future, I also rather quickly felt like I was being pressured into the whole sports games YouTuber niche, something I didn't want at all. I mean no offense to anyone who watched and enjoyed my videos on NBA 2K, but games like these have the tendency to bring with them a more casual audience, a less mature audience if you will. For me that never caused any issues, but at the same time I was not at all ready to commit myself to fully dive into the 2K YouTube sphere for those very reasons. It certainly also didn't help that the 2K franchise started to focus more and more on those competitive online game modes riddled with microtransactions and chance mechanics, so after the 2K18 series wrapped up, I called it quits, even though NBA 2K as a whole played a big role in getting the channel to its first 1,000 subscribers in August of 2017. Also in 2017, I played South Park: The Stick of Truth, my first foray into turn-based combat games, even though at the time that wasn't necessarily why I played it, although looking back at it, it was probably why I enjoyed it so much. But back then, I was still mostly choosing games based on perceived quality and most importantly length, because after both Mass Effect 1 and The Sims 3 turned out to be absolute behemoths, I was looking for something that could be finished a little bit more quickly. Quick side note, episode 8 of the Stick of Truth series is actually still among my most viewed videos, for interesting reasons relating to the video thumbnail I think, and probably also because some of what happens in that episode is content that is censored in many countries the game released in. Funnily enough, despite me playing the game's uncensored version and also not cutting out or blurring a single thing in that entire series, including, but certainly not limited to, a massive pair of balls swinging across the screen for several minutes during one of the later fights, episode 14 if you're so inclined, I never had any issues with monetization or YouTube age restricting the videos, which probably would have hurt my motivation quite a bit back at the time. Now, moving on, we make it to 2018, the year I picked up RimWorld for the first time and immediately fell in love. I started a new series, the RimWorld Ice Sheet Challenge, and well, the rest is history. The channel quickly took off, from less than 5,000 to over 50,000 subscribers in the span of a single year. I hit the 1 million total channel views milestone, and by popular demand I launched a Patreon, and for the first time I started earning some real money with my channel. In late 2018 I registered as self-employed and officially made this channel more than just a hobby for me, even if it still remained a side gig for the time being. Still, I think it is safe to say that RimWorld probably changed my life. Yes, that may sound overly dramatic, but I think there is some truth to it. The fact that I am currently staring at a wall full of fan art created over the span of 8 years and 6 different RimWorld series, I think that is a testament to what this game means to me, the channel, and to you, and I will forever cherish it as the game that truly put Pete Complete on the map. Still, when it comes to defining my channel's identity, I think we need to look a little bit further still, to 2019, the year I started playing XCOM. And that series, maybe even more than RimWorld, came to shape what this channel is fundamentally all about. A well-planned, thoughtful, strategic approach to video games played on their highest difficulty, with plenty of extra challenges created by the hunt for all achievements. Achievements that in XCOM's case were wonderfully crafted to push players into different playstyles and to try out new things, and ultimately helped keep that series exciting even over the course of 66 episodes. Finally, in a 27-hour-long campaign, you saw me pull off something I had never been able to manage before, completing the game on Iron Man Impossible difficulty without losing a single soldier, a feat that I am still incredibly proud of. Still, with the RimWorld Ice Sheet series ending, the channel calmed down a little bit. Good thing that RimWorld's Royalty expansion launched in early 2020 and allowed us to create another fantastic adventure centered around the Extreme Desert crew with fan favorites like the Amazing Steak, Edmo, Red Hawk and others. It also spawned one of my favorite pieces of merchandise. By the way, I actually forgot when I originally launched the merch store, and it moved platforms a few times, a story I have told once or twice already, so let's not get into that. But allow me to shamelessly plug shop.petecomplete.com at this point. This wonderful steak mug is still available, and you can even get it in the hot and cold bundle with the cameo one and save some money. In any case, over the course of this 51-episode adventure that culminated in Steak's royal ascent, the channel gained traction again, and we reached the magic milestone of 100,000 subscribers in the summer of 2020. However, in the midst of all that, I had just gotten my master's degree and now had to look at what I wanted to do for a living. In hindsight, I probably could have made the jump to full-time YouTuber back then and there, but I was hesitant. Too much of the channel's performance, and therefore the money I earned, still relied on a single series doing well, and I just didn't want to take a risk like that. So I stayed at the university for a little while longer and began working, researching and teaching in communication science, but this also meant that I now had to juggle 2 jobs at the same time. Still, through various instances of COVID-enforced stay-at-home periods, I found myself with more time on my hands than initially planned, and in 2021 I used that time to start a new series, Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden, a game that to this day I still think is perhaps the best example of what this channel is all about. A maximum difficulty playthrough, all achievements unlocked in one series without any leftovers, a focus on tactical turn-based combat with characters that you learn to love, both for their personalities as well as for their ability to absolutely kick ass in a fight, and me being able to somehow pull it all off without taking a single point of damage.
I am the beautiful weapon.
Now, forgive me for somewhat skipping over Mass Effect 2 here, which I managed to complete in the span of 2.5 years, from the summer of 2018 to late 2020. This is no slight against it, there's just a lot more that I still need to cover here, and well, with all 3 games being so intertwined, there is also not really anything to be said about this series in particular that couldn't also be said about the other 2. Speaking of which, in the summer of 2021 I finally launched my Mass Effect 3 series, an adventure that would take another 2 years to complete, finally reaching the grand finale in August of 2023. Still, 2021 was not over yet, and it seems like it was a good year for new series, because I also started playing RimWorld Ideology that year, roughly 6 months after the expansion's release. To this day, the tale of the tree-loving murderous cult of Jinx is still one of my favorite RimWorld adventures on this channel, and it also laid the groundwork for the characters that shaped both the Biotech and the Anomaly series later on, as Ideology introduced the Arconexus ending, essentially a new game plus that forced players to build not 1 but 3 full colonies before being allowed to officially end the game. We move on to 2022, the year of XCOM 2, bigger, better, and of course much longer than the first game. I like to believe that my tactical mind had sharpened a bit over the years, with a decent amount of turn-based tactical combat under my belt now, and XCOM 2 offered the perfect challenge, one reason I think why the game itself remains one of my favorite turn-based tactical combat games of all time, and why I am deeply saddened that an XCOM 3 of similar quality is most likely not going to happen anytime soon. Still, we have 72 episodes and 40 hours of content to rewatch, and I think games in this genre will always have a home on this channel. Now, with XCOM 2 and Mass Effect 3 both being massive undertakings, we need to jump ahead to 2023 for the launch of the next new series, RimWorld Biotech. For the first time in a RimWorld series, I continue to play with some of the cast from a previous adventure, aiming for the aforementioned and rather tedious Arconexus ending introduced in the Ideology expansion. It took a lot of fiddling around to actually be able to transfer the 5 starting pawns from the Ideology to the Biotech series, and in hindsight, the Biotech series is also probably my least favorite of the RimWorld series I have done on this channel. Over the course of its comparatively short 23 episodes, it always felt transitional in a way. The focus on industrial technology severely clashed with and hampered exploration of both the mech-making and gene-modding elements introduced in biotech, but I was committed to reserve the high-tech playthrough for the next expansion, and so the cave-dwelling, vampire-worshipping believers of Boyo lacked a bit in identity, I feel. Overall, the playthrough at times felt more like a second ideology playthrough than a biotech one, which is a bit of a shame because I consider biotech to be one of the best expansions that RimWorld currently has. Also in 2023, Baldur's Gate 3 released as one of the best RPGs of the last 10 years, at least in my opinion, but it took me until early 2024 to play it, and even longer to finally commit to a full series. But that series is the one I'm always craving for the most when I sit down to record. The game is just that damn good, and once your character builds start to come together, everything becomes so much more fun. The fact that we are still only in Act 1 after 35 episodes and over 28 hours of edited video goes to show just how deep this rabbit hole goes, and I just can't stop going deeper. Eventually, I'll probably have to force myself to stop or to at least take a break after Act 1, but considering how much I'm enjoying myself with the game, I can't imagine putting it down for too long. In 2024 then, RimWorld Anomaly launched, a series that I am very proud of for reasons entirely unrelated to its content, because together we managed to raise almost $7,000 for Polar Bears International, a science-based non-profit focused on protecting polar bears and their sea ice habitat. The Anomaly series itself was of course very fun too, definitely a change of pace to the usual RimWorld experience, and it ended with us exploring not only the long-awaited Arconexus ending, but also by sending our child prodigy Elpis into the void, a moment that I still enjoy tremendously as the payoff to a several years-long journey. Thanks to the wonderfully talented Gracie and Tony Murchison, the Anomaly series was also commemorated with 3 lovely designs that you can still grab as merchandise, but the merch itself isn't really the point here. It just goes to show that I think that this series had a whole lot of personality, maybe provoked by that ambient horror that the creatures of the void cast over our sea ice colony. In any case, even if the Anomaly expansion was not everyone's cup of tea, I think we managed to do something really fun with it. Moving on, in August of 2024, after finally completing XCOM 2, the itch for tactical combat was still going strong, so I picked up Tactical Breach Wizards. And what a fun game it was, and yes, I know, we still have a few bonus missions left to do. I promise I'll get around to those eventually. This was also my first foray into voice acting, if you will, as the game features a lot of dialogue, but all unvoiced, so I had to do the honors of breathing some life into Jen, Zan, Banks, Dal and Ryan, and Ryan's dog form, much to your amusement, and I hope I did a passable job. Ruff. Finally, also in 2024, I visited Gamescom in Cologne for the first time in 13 years and made my first real-life video, something I would actually like to do again sometime, perhaps not at Gamescom. The reasons why are explained in the video itself, but if you have something you would like to see me do or a part of my life that you're interested in, feel free to let me know in the comments. Now then, 2025 rolls around and it was a big year for me. After juggling 2 jobs for over 5 years and feeling the pressure more and more to the point where I actually needed therapy, I felt that it was time to make a decision. And well, even though it took me months to pull the trigger, ultimately it was an easy decision. I just couldn't see myself giving up on this channel, and so I quit my job at the university and became a full-time YouTuber. Unfortunately, at least for you guys, I also got married that year, an event that took quite some planning, and that meant less time for making videos. To celebrate my newfound freedom, I also wanted to pick a game back up that I last played all those years back when I launched the channel, The Sims 3. I know it isn't hugely popular anymore these days, but I'm enjoying myself tremendously whenever I jump back in. The World Adventures series is the perfect blend of strategic approach and relaxed gameplay, no high-stakes survival situations, just trying to get through the shenanigans that the game throws at you. Also in 2025, RimWorld Odyssey launched, an expansion that I believe transforms the game like few others before it. The graph ship and the ability to freely zoom around the planet completely changes how the game can be approached, and this more nomadic playstyle was something I had been missing from my previous series. And now, even after 27 episodes, it still keeps things fresh for me, even if we are slowly approaching the endgame. And with that, we are already in 2026, and RimWorld Odyssey, The Sims 3 World Adventures and Baldur's Gate 3 are still going strong. Including this one, over the last decade, Pete Complete has produced 996 videos, number 1000 is coming up actually, and I have some ideas for it, as well as 39 shorts, almost 400 hours of total content, 397 to be exact, and videos on 26 different games. If we count expansions separately, then it's actually 32. Some honorable mentions that didn't make it into the previous part: Run Jesus Run, a 51-second short Easter-themed adventure, a 3-part mini-series on Portal, the Merry Gear Solid 1 and 2 holiday specials, various guides for games like Kingdom Come Deliverance, Hogwarts Legacy or Mugenics, and also some sponsored videos for games like Capes and Lost Eidolon's Veil of the Witch. Now, to wrap this up, I hope I didn't bore you too much with this rather lengthy look back at 10 years of Pete Complete, but some of you have been following this channel since the very beginning, and maybe this can bring up some fond memories. I would actually be very interested to learn when all of you watching this video found me. Let me know in the comments how long you have been watching my videos, and perhaps what your first or your favorite series of mine was. And that is also most of what I had planned for this video today, but I promised a quick outlook on the road ahead, maybe not the next 10 years, but the more immediate future. Like it or not, there is actually a bit of truth to what I said in the April Fool's video regarding the slow death of serial long-form content, and if I want this channel to continue to thrive, I think I have no choice but to play along, at least a little bit. But don't worry, I will of course not suddenly start pumping out shorts like there's no tomorrow, and if I do make them, then you can expect a continuation of the formats I did in the past. Brief guides on isolated topics related to the games I already play, most of them specifically produced as bite-sized tutorials and information pieces. On a broader scale though, I think whenever I launch the next series, you'll see a slight change in the video format, at least on the surface. I still plan on continuing to make videos that build upon each other in a serial format, but I think the presentation could perhaps be loosened up a bit so that all of those videos also work on their own. Essentially, the issue is that currently people see me upload part 26 of Baldur's Gate 3 for example, and unless something very specific happens in that video that they are looking for, no one is going to watch part 26 of anything unless they have also watched the previous 25. Not to mention that part 26 is probably not even going to get shown to you if you haven't engaged with any previous video in the series, and that's something I'm hoping to fix with a more standalone presentation while still maintaining an overall serial cohesiveness. I'm simply convinced that someone who enjoys Baldur's Gate 3 videos would also enjoy my videos, but at the moment the way I present and format them is likely not ideal for someone looking for new content to watch. Keep in mind that my first Baldur's Gate 3 episode went up in 2024 and we're still playing the game, and that YouTube has a preference for showing you recently uploaded stuff. You can see how that becomes a problem when all of my recent videos have episode numbers in the 30s. So perhaps expect those episode numbers to slowly vanish from titles and thumbnails in the future, and videos being presented slightly differently in their intro and outro, but also don't worry too much about it. At the heart of things, my content will remain what you have come to know and hopefully enjoy over the last 10 years. On a final note, but this is really just a small add-on, to celebrate 10 years of Pete Complete, you can find a limited edition shirt and mug in the Pete Complete store for the rest of the month. Absolutely no expectations here that you have to grab one of these. I'm doing this mostly for those among you who have been a part of this community for most, if not all, of the channel's existence and want something special to commemorate the occasion. I have specifically kept the design as subtle as possible, and I'm very happy with the blend of my logo and the number 10. Compared to my other merch items, I think it looks almost like something you'd find in a store instead of at a gaming convention, and I am certainly going to gift a few of those to some important people who have supported me over the years and helped shape this channel into what it is today. On that note, let me mention a few of those people now before we get to the channel member and Patreon shoutouts. First and foremost, my wife, my family and my close friends, who have been so supportive of me despite me choosing such an unconventional career path, but who always believed in me and gave me the freedom to pursue this dream of mine. I also want to thank Squared Cubed for taking the initiative to set up the Pete Complete Discord and hosting my very first live AMA. I want to thank CFD, Cheap Milk, Specs, Tom, Ben and Steak for supporting the server as admins and or moderators at various points in time. And I want to take a moment here to also remember Jai, who served as Discord admin for over a year until he suddenly passed away. Rest in peace, Jai, and thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you also to the dozens of people who submitted their artwork to me over the years. Like I said, that wall in my office is filling up, and I can't wait to see what else this wonderful community can produce. Speaking of artwork, thank you to John Poe, who created the channel's logo back in 2020. This was the first time I ever hired someone to work for me, and I'm still loving the end results. Thank you to the over 500 patrons and channel members who allowed me to use their names for people, pets or items in one of my videos, and thank you to the many more who are still waiting. Thank you in general to everyone who has supported my work financially via Patreon or YouTube, whether it's a small one-time pledge or a long-term membership. I do not take any of this for granted, and you are probably the biggest reason why I can now call myself a full-time YouTuber, so thank you for that. Last but not least, a thank you of the simplest kind, but arguably the most important. Thank you for watching my videos. For every click, every thumbs up, every comment, and for every time you shared my work with others. Without you, I would be nothing, just a guy posting YouTube videos, and I would probably have stopped a long time ago. With you, I am someone who creates enjoyment, stories, and perhaps the occasional bit of informative content for others. You give me purpose, and I can only hope to be able to repay that, now and for the next 10 years. And before I tear up now, let's wrap things up, as always with a shout out to all the new channel members and Patreon supporters who joined since the last channel update video. So as always, in no particular order, I want to say thank you to Max Knight, John, Phineas Abner, Fish, Bill Sorensen, Please Don't Use My Name, Brian Parker, Helphorst, Bill, Giuliano Bruno, Omega, Aske Arakun Alexis, Quasar, Warkitten AoE 2, Daniel, Chenzink, The Jakus, Hatsune 3567, The Sveke, and Flamiel 0608. As always, I hope I pronounced all of your names correctly, but above all, thank you all so much for your support. And with that, let's make the cut in a video that ended up being a lot longer than I had anticipated. 10 years to me both feels like an eternity as well as a blink of an eye. So much has happened, and yet so many things that I still want to do. I sincerely hope that wherever this journey takes me, that you join me, and who knows, maybe we'll all come together for something similar in another 10 years. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this not-so-short channel update video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you know the drill. You can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. And for the last 10 years I've been saying this at the end of all of my videos, and it is no different today. I feel blessed to have you here, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.